Hola, soy Paul Shelley. Feliz Navidad. I'm not going to continue in Spanish. I'm terrible at Spanish. I used to be fluent, by the way. Welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, capsule. This is a small segment of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub Live on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Would love to have you come join us live as we talk about Star Citizen lore, news, and more. Today has been the big subject. We've actually talked a little bit about this before, but we're going to be talking about the letter from the chairman. At the end of every year, CIG releases a letter from the chairman, which is from the CEO, Chris Roberts, the guy who made the Wing Commander games and Freelancer, Starlancer, and Privateer, the founder and creator of Star Citizen, of CIG, if you didn't know. And every year they kind of done a wrap up where they kind of talk about what's going to happen, the year that's gone by and what's going to happen next year, at least a little bit. So without any further ado, let's jump into the letter from the chairman for 2025, December of 2025. All right. We're going to be reading this entirely, word for word throughout the entire of it. So this might be a long one. And then we'll do a breakdown of what this means as we come along, similar to our monthly reports. As we wrap 2025, I want to take a moment to reflect on the year and what it's meant for all of us. 2025 became the year of playability for Star Citizen. It was a year when more people played than ever before and spent more time in the verse than at any point in our history. That momentum did not happen by chance. It came from a focused effort to improve quality of life, performance, and reliability, and to make the gameplay experience more engaging and rewarding to return to. We started the year with two clear goals as a company: to improve stability and quality of life in Star Citizen, while continuing to deliver regular content updates and push Squadron 42 towards beta and release in 2026. I'm happy to say we made great progress on both fronts. We'll watch this video later, but simply just kind of an overview of everything. Star Citizen. On the Star Citizen side, 2025 saw a number of important pieces come together. We released not one, but two star systems in a single year, welcomed the return of the beloved landing zone Levski, and added new locations around the verse, opening more space to explore and spend time in. Server meshing was the key technology that made this all possible. With the release of 4.0.1 to the live environment on January 28th, we moved into a bigger, more performant, and stable universe. And while there are still a few hiccups with some legacy systems like the elevators and air traffic control that were built long before server meshing was conceived, server meshing itself has been working flawlessly since the beginning, a testament to the design and execution of the system by our network, backend engine and gameplay teams. Every day, it handles tens of thousands of people playing concurrently in shared instances of up to 700 players. For something that simulates everything to the level of detail we do, at the scale we do, in the first and third person, this is a truly mind-boggling achievement. Most other multiplayer games top out at between 50 to 100 players in a much more contained space than we allow you to explore in Star Citizen. And the MMOs with high player counts in the same instance don't simulate and render the world to the extent we do. As multiple servers now manage our vast universe, the individual server performance has greatly increased, creating a much better experience for all of you. And due to its design with a separate service that tracks the state of the universe for all servers and clients, it allows us to quickly recover from a client or server crash without losing your progress, which is a huge quality of life win. We also shipped more content and more in-game events than ever before this year. That includes the large-scale moments like teaming up to take on an irradiated Apex Valakar or coming face-to-face with the Ormandi, as well as longer-running storylines that helped add depth and context to the verse. The environments continued to evolve as well. Expanded weather effects and planetary conditions helped make locations feel more distinct and atmospheric, while improvements to characters, player interaction, and AI contributed to more intuitive experience. We also expanded the vehicle lineup to include 24 new vehicles, while continuing to improve the ships and ground vehicles already in your hands. Supporting all of this was a significantly increased pace of delivery compared to previous years. In 2025, Star Citizen delivered 11 major patches and more than 40 live publishes, 147 PTU builds, and several tech previews. This new place allowed us to iterate faster, respond to feedback sooner, and deliver more content to play throughout the year. We closed out the year with the introduction of engineering in Star Citizen Alpha 4.5, adding new layers of interaction, decision-making, and responsibility to managing your ship. Engineering is an important step towards the deeper systemic experience I've always wanted to build, where your core coordination and crew truly matter. While future systems such as Maelstrom's physically based materials and destruction, more realistic shield gameplay with generators and emitters, and our upcoming crafting system will further deepen engineering, it was important to bring engineering into the verse now so we can begin refining the experience in the live environment. This is the first time we've heard about shield emitters in like 3 years. For those of you who don't know, we're not familiar with sci-fi tropes. The idea is that you have shield generators and you have emitters. You have a generator which generates the shield, and the emitters are the actual things that pull out the shield. So if you want to destroy a shield, you attack the shield emitters, so there's nothing to project, as it were. Which is interesting that they've talked about that now. They've also mentioned multiple times that Maelstrom is basically in Star Citizen, but it's not like working in Star Citizen. Like they have it like imported it into the Star Citizen branch and they're working on it and that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of having it in the game and having it working properly are two different things. While Maelstrom has been already in Squadron for a long time and working in Squadron, that's a single player experience, not one based over the network. So I'm sure there's a lot more complicated things to deal with when you're dealing with latency and networks and stuff like that. So, and crafting system, yes. I love this. This is the I forget which one it was, but this was the one for Lazarus when it came out. Stormageddon. Finally, as a Christmas surprise, we quietly released the experimental VR mode in Alpha 4.5. What began as a passion project quickly caught people's attention, and the response from those who have tried it have been genuinely exciting. I've long believed that Star Citizen is a natural fit for VR because of how we build our worlds. We physicalize almost everything, keeping first and third person views consistent in a shared universe. That approach takes more effort, but it makes the experience feel grounded and real. It highlights the value of those design choices in a way that few technologies can. They talked about the emitters recently. How recently? I haven't heard him talk about it outside of like, have they talked about it in like Spectrum Post or something like that? Because they haven't talked about it in like ISC or SCL or even monthly reports in a long time. They talked when they talked about cap ship combat. When was that? Like June? Yeah. Anyways, by the way, for those of you who don't know, there's an old GIF somewhere around there, old video of Chris Roberts with an Oculus on, with two sticks on a couch, just going to town on those joysticks while moving his head around. It's a very funny GIF. So Chris Roberts has been very much a Star Citizen is going to be a VR experience or part of a VR experience since like 2012, since it was just like an idea when Oculus wasn't even fully released yet, before Facebook bought Oculus. So being able to experience ships, environments, and equipment at true scale with natural movement and directional audio adds a level of immersion that's difficult to capture on a traditional display. All the detail we put into our environments, props, ships, and gear really pays off when you're up close and personal. This is still an early and experimental step, and there's plenty we want to improve. We need to continue dialing in the diegetic UI so it feels comfortable and readable in VR, refine FPS controls so your input controls your body rather than where you're looking, and add more dedicated control support. These are solvable problems and the ones that we are excited to tackle. It's also worth mentioning that the new VR mode would not be possible without the engine and graphics work happening behind the scenes. Ongoing optimization efforts by our core technology group and our transition to Vulkan have made a meaningful difference, and without that work, I don't think VR would be running as smoothly in its first iteration. All of this, combined with a hard focus on bug fixing and quality of life features, has made Star Citizen more fun and stable and playable than ever, and the numbers back it up. This is the interesting one. I love these sorts of numbers things because I was in marketing research, so these are the kind of things that I like to dissect and look at. We had a record-setting engagement this year with more than 64 million hours played in Star Citizen, up from 48 million in 2024. I don't know if 2024 was better or worse than 2023 in terms of engagement. It feels like it was worse, but I don't necessarily know. You set new records in peak concurrency and unique daily users. We saw huge increases in every metric, including 40 to 60% increases in average daily users and average peak concurrency. We also saw huge improvements in server stability, with 57% fewer player disconnections per 1 million player hours compared to 2024. 2025 was truly the year of playability for Star Citizen. That's an important thing to highlight, I think, because a lot of people interpret playability however they want to. The main focus was that they want people to be able to play the game, log on, play, and not disconnect as much. Notice they didn't talk about the gameplay experience. They didn't talk about the bugs. They were mostly focusing on, can you get in, can you play, and the longer you play without disconnects. So it's less about the game itself and more about how long are you in there, bugs and all. So that can be a myopic approach. I can see this as like that seems like that was their goal from the very beginning. And clearly, when you say something like playability, people think whatever it means. So whatever they use for next year's moniker, it won't be this, but it'll be weird. All right, this is the part that got my hackles up. I'm not just for transparency. I never worked in video game marketing. I sort of worked with people who worked in video game marketing back in the 90s, which is nowhere near what we're doing these days, what people do these days. But I have enough experience to be a problem, put it that way. And my experience since I've started streaming and doing content creation and going to conventions and stuff like that has sort of like really gelled my understanding of how you market video games in this sort of situation, in this market as we have right now. So keep that in mind when I talk about Squadron. On the Squadron 42 front, our focus throughout 2025 was to build on the progress of 2024 and what we showed at last year's CitizenCon by bringing the game to content complete and closing out the remaining core tasks in preparation for beta. Now, it's important to note, this has already been clarified by Xylo, by Tyler Whitkin, Xylo. Internal beta, not public beta. Internal beta is what they're talking about. This does not mean you get a beta if you backstart Squadron. It means internal beta. All chapters are now fully playable from beginning to end, and we've been playing through the game ourselves regularly. Squadron 42 is a large game, over 40 hours in length, and it's becoming increasingly clear how special it will be once the remaining polish, optimization, and bug fixing is complete. That's an increase, because I believe Chris Roberts said in 2024 that it was like a little over 30 hours. The thing that they've mentioned in the past, it's not mentioned here, is that they may be also including side missions. Not every mission has a side mission, but there may be multiple side missions for every mission you do. And we know that a side mission is about 45 minutes to an hour. A mission might be about the same. So you're looking at, and we know there's about 20 missions. So an average of one mission and a side mission for every mission. Maybe some missions are longer. We don't know. So there is, and it's an interesting thing. And if it's over 40 hours, that's a pretty big game. I've heard people say like, oh, it's going to be like a Call of Duty campaign. It's like, this is bigger than like some RPGs in terms of deployments. So yeah. They reconfirmed branching missions in 2024 CitizenCon. That's also Chris Roberts' staple is branching missions. So yeah. Big part of what makes it possible is the technology we built at CIG over many years. The ability to move seamlessly from on foot into vehicle. You can fly around and move around inside, down to a planet or across star systems, all without loading screens, creates a level of immersion that's very difficult to replicate. That combination of close-up interaction and galactic scale is at the core of what will make Squadron 42 so unique. Just for some clarification, Chris is being a little cagey with some of these words, like all chapters now fully playable from beginning to end, and we've been playing through the game ourselves regularly. I do have some context inside the Squadron 42 team. No, I do not want to spoil anything. Yes, I actually know more than a lot of the Squadron 42 devs in terms of how the story goes, because each of them are siloed into their own thing. Long story, I spoiled myself years ago on the story, so I kind of know what's going to happen. Oh, sorry. I was about to sneeze there. I'm not going to be able to sneeze. It's going to be one of those things I'm going to start talking, I'm going to sneeze. 40-hour campaign, it says specifically over 40 hours in length. I don't know if that's estimated or not. Thank you, Idiocracy. I'll take a look at it. Didn't Xylo say he played through the game a decade ago? I've actually asked Xylo that question, and his response is a little different. The short answer is he could play through the game from beginning to end with placeholders and skips. The idea being that you could log in, get through the game, and it wouldn't crash, or it was blocked out properly. It's something he'd been doing as a QA for a long time as a way of sort of testing it out. And it had been his own initiative to do so, not CIG's initiative. So when he made that comment, he was making the comment based off of his own experience. And knowing Xylo as I have known him for like over a decade now, that tracks with how Xylo thinks. Xylo forgets that not everyone is necessarily fluent in game. So take it as you wish, if that's true or not. It could be Xylo, what is it? Gaslighting me. I don't know. You didn't say a decade ago. I've known Xylo for like a decade now. It's 13 years. I've known Xylo for that long. I'm coming up on 10 years of streaming here, chat. So, all right. But going back to the folks I've talked to at Squadron 42 team, they basically said that earlier this year, the game would implode on itself if it went on for too long. So like 2 or 3 chapters and it might implode on itself. And that's what they were chasing down at that time. This was like in June. Things could have changed. But that is a very specific verbiage that moves along. He didn't say, we've played the game from beginning to end. He said all chapters are now playable from beginning to end. And we've been playing through the game ourselves regularly. I'd like some clarification on if he's played the game from beginning to end without any problems, because that is a very selective verbiage after what I've heard from the Squadron 42 team itself. Memory leaks, yeah, it sounded like it was just some issue they were just chasing down. It didn't seem like it was a big issue. It was just a pain in the ass that were going to take a long time to fix it out. So, all right. A big part of what this okay, I already went through all that. Equally important is the quality of the content itself, from writing and performance capture to characters, environments, ships, lighting, sound, cinematics, and design. The level of care across the entire game is something I'm incredibly proud of. Combined with a deeply interactive systems, it creates an experience that pulls you into the world and keeps you there. From what I've read and what I've heard, that is true. It's good, solid. Not a groundbreaking experience, but good and solid. What continues to mean the most to us is the community that has grown alongside this journey. Did I read that? What continues to mean the most to us is the community that has grown alongside this journey. Oh, okay. You have given us your time, shared your perspectives, and chosen to take part in something that is truly bigger than all of us. It is the next great adventure where millions of like-minded explorers get to live among the stars, and we could not ask for a better crew. Throughout the year, hundreds of Star Citizens events took place around the world, creating spaces where stories were shared, friendships were formed, and a shared passion for the universe came to life. We were fortunate enough to attend 24 of these in person, and each one was a reminder to take care of the care and creativity you bring to this community. These moments matter. They help keep us grounded in a way that we do what we do, and they continue to inspire and motivate us in ways that are truly rewarding. That same energy carried us through online. You organized racing events, watch parties, social meetups, and more throughout the year, bringing people together no matter the time zones or continents. Citizen on Direct was a standout moment for us, with dozens of watch parties happening around the world simultaneously. Despite the distance between us, it genuinely felt like we were more connected than ever. Platitudes, but yeah. Okay. Thank you for the time, patience, and passion you continue to share with us. Whether you joined us at an event, helped us test in PTU, organized a gathering, or simply spent time experiencing the universe with others, you are at the center of our ambition and what makes this journey entirely possible. This entire journey possible. Yeah. I think that's a very good one. That's the 4.5 patch one. Yeah. All right. Eyes on the horizon. Looking ahead to 2026, our focus remains clear. We'll continue improving stability and depth in Star Citizen while expanding and connecting the core systems that shape how you play. From engineering to inventory, crafting, social tools, and other foundational features alongside expanding the playable universe itself. That already can tell us a couple of things. One, that is the list of what they actually know. They're going to do engineering, which we know they're releasing 4.5. They're continuing to work on it. There's been multiple directions of talking about this. So we know that multiple people have talked about it in multiple places. So engineering is still going to be worked on throughout the new year. Inventory. They have talked about the new inventory system basically like at points throughout the entire year. And they've actually showed off not only concept work, but actually work in progress work at CitizenCon. So we know it's probably going to be one of the first things or somewhere around the first half of the year, if not, at some point next year. Same with crafting. They've talked about crafting a lot. They showed it off multiple times. They talked about it at CitizenCon. So that's like almost certainly all those three are for sure. Then we have social tools. I wonder if social tools was mentioned mostly because players have been screeching every time CIG is like, we're going to do this big thing. And everyone goes, freaking do a social tools. We need basic MMO features, guys. Basic MMO features, please. Stop making me bash my head against the wall, please. But that does fill me with a little bit of hope that they might actually get that in there. Because of all those things, I think the social tools are the most important to your average player because it should allow for easier access to players getting together and more stuff to do together. Boop, 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 boop. All right. They also mentioned expanding the playable universe itself. Almost guaranteed Castra by the end of the year. Castra is almost certainly going to come out in 2026. Terra, probably not. I would be very surprised if Terra comes out next year, but almost certainly Castra is. Plus, obviously, the rest of Nyx. Selective mutes, please. I believe muting actually is available in game right now in the chat. I think there is some minor blocking available, but I've heard that. I don't know if it's true or not. Sapper is saying they added block feature in 4.5. So server meshing will become dynamic, allowing the mesh to reconfigure in real time based on player activity and server load. This evolution is foundational to supporting the large-scale group experiences we've always envisioned, and will enable us to expand the universe even further. Our goal is to have thousands of players in the same shared universe instance. Components of server meshing systems are also being leveraged to deliver instance areas and experiences, allowing our designers to craft balanced content that integrates seamlessly into the universe. As we expand outward, we're also building deeper. Genesis planets represent the next step in planetary tech, offering breathtaking worlds with some significantly improved graphical fidelity and denser, more dynamically assembled biomes. These planets are driven by the rules of nature and our designers, creating ecosystems that feel alive and authentic, combined with Starcitect locations throughout. Genesis planets deliver both the environmental depth and the gameplay density we need. Supporting this will be the new AI population management system that creates inhabitants appropriate to their local environment and enables more complex interactions between agents. Now, someone said in Discord that like rip Tony Z's system. It could be, or it could just be Tony Z's system, because Tony Z's system said very similar stuff. So who knows? It could be the end of Tony Z's influence in Star Citizen and on new tools. We don't know. This approach to building living, breathing planets is key to scaling the game to heights we're aiming for. Most of that is stuff that they've talked about for years now. Starcitect has been something they've talked about for at least 2 years, if not 3. It's very important. It allows for like dynamically generated outposts, which then radiate out, where you don't just have like big you don't just have like outposts that's solo and there's nothing else. It'll allow for like sub outposts and all that kind of stuff. This sounds more like spawning NPC with gear and stuff based off locations. Yeah, that's hopefully that means no more Nine Tails operators somehow face tanking Daymar without any suits on whatsoever. We're also upgrading core systems that have been with us for years. As part of our item recovery work, inventory, insurance, and cross-patch persistence are all getting significant improvements. The focus is on making it easier to interact with your belongings while improving the stability and speed of these systems overall. These are integral parts of any MMO experience, and getting them right matters. Yeah, that all makes sense too. Item recovery stuff has been talked about for a while. They've showed it off in the monthly reports. Inventory, again, we've talked about that. They've been showing it off and on for this entire year. And the insurance issue with cross-pass insurance, like insurance, all of this stuff is stuff they've talked about pretty much off and on all year. Hell with them. The ASD guys who can face tank Pyro 1 are terrifying. Oh, this is the one that's going to get a little bit of my Jimmy's rustled here. For Squadron 42, our priority remains quality and polish as we move toward beta and release. We're confident in the direction the game is headed, and we're fully focused on delivering. We know that many of you are eager to play, and we're looking forward to putting it in your hands. We don't plan on a long, drawn-out marketing campaign, as we've already done our share of trailers and gameplay previews. When it's time, you and the rest of the gaming world will hear a lot more from us. This is where I will go on a soapbox after I finish, because we're almost done. I have concerns. Thank you for continuing to share your time, your feedback, and your passion for this universe. Star Citizen 142 exists because of all of you, and that is something I will never take for granted. From all of us at Cloud Imperium Games, we wish you a happy holiday season and a great start to the new year. There's Chris, founder and CEO. So I have thoughts on that last part. That just quick, oh yeah, we're not going to do a long, drawn out campaign. There are a couple of things that might go wrong and could go right. We'll start with the wrong, and then we'll end with the hopium. Hopium, whatever. First of all, the problem that Squadron 42 has, based off of what Chris has said, and I'll read it again. As we don't plan on doing a long, drawn-out marketing campaign, as we've already done our share of trailers and gameplay previews. That's great, but you didn't do any pre-orders. No one will remember a trailer they saw 2 years ago and then go, oh, I'm going to purchase this game. There has not been a preview of Squadron 42 since 2024. So if you're releasing a game in 2026 without a preview in 2026, no one's going to be reminded you exist. And it smacks of, we're not going to do a big marketing blitz. We're just going to do word of mouth, which is great in modern gaming. Lots of games have done word of mouth as their main story that pushed them through Baldur's Gate, Expedition 33, both Game of the Year, both were carried by word of mouth. However, Baldur's Gate had a built-in fan base and released it at the right time. And Expedition 33 did the same. It had a lot of passionate people behind it, and it was released at a time where there really wasn't nothing else really released. Squadron 42 is going to drop in 2026. And I've mentioned this, and everyone's mentioned this, is the gigantic elephant in the room. The whale, I think of something bigger than a whale. the asteroid in the room is GTA. And before anyone goes into the chat and goes, but Paul, GTA is a console game and not the same genre as Star Citizen or Squadron 42. Why are you so stupid about this? Because you're so handsome, how could you be so stupid? Which is right. You know, I am that handsome. Thank you. But strawman commenter, hold your horses. The problem isn't GTA 6. The problem is word of mouth. Because word of mouth can work great, but it only works well when there's nobody else talking about anything else or sucking up the air, taking up people's time. And as is often quoted or often said, and it's important to reiterate, people have a budget. And if your budget is slim, especially in 2026 when budget's going to be slim, you're going to have to make hard choices about what video game you purchase if you purchase one at all. And are you going to, as a normal average gamer, not you, sexy, wonderful, handsome, beautiful viewer, you who are watching this right now, because it's the only way you are watching this is if you are incredibly handsome. You're looking good, by the way. You already know about Squadron. You are already in the elevated, enlightened population that understand what's going on. Think of yourself as an average gamer, the baseline normie, and think, are they likely going to take a risk on Squadron 42 or GTA, especially when their friends are playing GTA? Like, you got to put yourself in the average person's shoes because you were once the average person. Think about any game that exists outside of your niche that you have been tempted to play. That's the kind of thing that you need to do. So I know I'm already going on a tangent about this, but that I wanted to highlight that problem, which is if you don't do a marketing campaign and you're working on word of mouth, you have to be the only mouth speaking. or limit the number of mouths that are speaking that are not you. And I have a terrible feeling that they're going to do a marketing campaign for like a month when the vast majority of people don't know you exist. So that's the negative parts. The positive is that Squadron 42 only has to be good. If it's good, it doesn't have to sell a bajillion copies to be a success, as long as it continues to sell. You definitely need marketing after the fact, at the very least, to continue support and word of mouth to spread to increase the sales of the game over time. Because there's no publisher to pay back. They do have some investors that they may have to pay back, but I don't know if those investors will even withdraw at that point or just double down on it. I don't know. Even then, those people are likely going to do it's like $30 million. They would make that money back pretty quickly. So the big issue is creating a significant income stream, revenue stream from Squadron without having to invest an absolute mountain of team and effort and energy into keeping it around. And if you do it right, then you got whatever, 10 million, 20 million, $30 million a year just from people buying your game on Steam or whatever. So it's important to make it good. So if it's good, they don't really have to sell that much. So that's the only thing they got going for them, is that they do not have the pressure to make all their money back for a publisher on day one. Thank you for coming to my tomato talk. That my unhinged rant there. But overall, that was the letter from the chairman for December of 2025. I'm already in the future. 2025. As always, if you did enjoy this, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell to be notified when these release. And I want to know your thoughts down below. Am I insane for having these worries? I want to hear your thoughts on what you think is actually going to come out next year. And yeah, remember to join us live, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live, where you can join these chatters here and discuss. I'm not ending the stream now. I'm simply ending this clip. So these folks and I are going to talk a little bit more about this before we go to the night. So, but for the rest of you, thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.